So we're back. We're still in Unit 1, and we're going to look at sections 1.3 to 1.5 in this video. So first, writing numbers in various forms. So we want them to have different ways to represent numbers and have a deep connection between those different meanings. We really focus on language a lot in this course. Typically, you'll find that students have a misunderstanding of mathematical language, so half the time you're talking, they don't really know what you're talking about. So we want to make sure they understand the words and how to write these things. So we have expanded form, place value form, and word name. Let's just look at these. Okay. So we start with numbers that have 3 digits, okay, because they kind of build up to larger numbers. So a place value form, we talk about putting this in the table, so this is to help them connect to the idea of the 4 being in the hundreds place, the 3 in the tens, and the 7 in the ones. And this idea that the place of the number determines the value of the number. So 4 in the hundreds place means something very different from 4 in the tens place. For expanded form, we decided here, so we have 437, that our expanded form will be writing 4 as 400 plus 3 as 30 plus 7 as 7. And we originally had thought of writing this as 4 times or 4 copies of 100, 3 copies of 10, and 7 copies of 1. But we moved away from that because in this section we haven't officially talked about addition or multiplication yet when we introduce this. We think this is reasonable, but we didn't want to get too deep into the multiplication here and the order of operations. So you'll see when we do decimals later, we will take the digit and multiply it by the place value, but in this section we do not. So this is our expanded form. Something important about word names that you may or may not know. I know I've made errors with this in the past. So first, we don't use the word "and" when writing a word name for a whole number. This word will be used later to connect a whole number with a fraction or a decimal. So I think I was taught, or I learned, I would probably say 437, and notice I said N37 or N37. We don't use the word "and," so this would be 437. We also use the conventions that MathAS uses, so students will have to type these in by hand for a few problems. You'll notice they misspell a lot of words, so they'll have to learn how to spell them correctly. But one important thing to notice, so there's no "and" here. And notice here between 30 and 7 there's a hyphen. Okay, so we need this hyphen if the tens in one place is one word, so if it's just 30 or if it's just 12. For the tens in ones place combined, then you don't need a hyphen, but whenever it's 2 words, there's a hyphen in between it. Okay, so you might want to remember, make a conscious effort to do that yourself when you're writing, and then also note that to the students. One thing I've seen a lot is they misspell 40. Makes me wonder, why do we take the U out of 40? Don't know. But things like this, I tell them my computer actually has spell check in MathAS, so it will underline it if I'm misspelling it. So make sure that they check that and know how to spell those words. Okay, so notice here a general strategy of the course. You give them one form, you have them recreate all the others, so working in all directions with these numbers. Okay. So in 1.4 we talk about larger numbers. So these are kind of a pain to write. We will have them write them. Notice we'll have values where between the commas we have 0 in one of the places because we want them to see that this is 37 thousands. Okay. When we write these in words, we do put commas, so this would be 261 billion, comma, 942 million, comma, 37,000, comma, 524. Okay, so the word names in MathAS and in general should include those commas. Notice some of the questions we ask. We have them put it in the chart, but determine the place value for the digit 9 and write what it represents as a word and a number. So it looks like 9 would be here. Okay, so we want them to see that 9 represents, it's in the 100 millions place value, and it represents 900 million. Okay, and you'll see they have a lot of difficulty with this. They'll just say it represents 9 million. Okay, so we really want them to see each of these place values. And just looking at 1.5, we already discussed this, so writing word names for large numbers, and there's some descriptions here. So basically they're writing the number between 1 and 999 in each subgrouping, and then referencing the category that it's in. Also notice we write billions here, but when we write the word we just say billion, not billions, so it would be 123 billion, comma. Okay, so just a few things, don't put and between the groupings. Okay, and we'll start on the next video.